Alright, big day. I always knew this day was coming, just didn't know when. I'm selling my Suzuki Bandit to one of my buddies, and I'm gonna bring it over to his house now. And I will turn the gas on. So, I shot a much longer video of me talking to myself about this bike. It's like 40 minutes long. I'll put it in the description of this, but I didn't feel like posting it like public, so it's an unlisted video. So I'll tell you a little bit about my time with the Bandit, tell you why I'm selling it, and I'll reminisce a little bit about my time with it. I bonded with this thing quite a bit. A little bit sad to see it go, but I never quite fell in love with this bike. I believe the Bandit is it's a flawed bike, but a super fun bike, and it brings a lot of smiles riding it now that it's really dialed in pretty well. I'd love to ride a Bandit from somebody that knows really how to set these things up to see how far off I am on my setup here, because this is as good as I've ever gotten this bike to feel. This has sort of been like my beater bike for the last 2 years. Like if I just need to jump on a motorcycle, this is the one I jump on. It hasn't given me any grief since I really got it dialed in. The only real things I did to the air fuel mixture after getting it set correctly is I'm running 2 needle shims under the carburetor needles, so everything in there is stock. I think I'm at like 2 turns out on the air fuel mixture screws. And the Delcovic exhaust. Now Delcovic says that their exhaust doesn't require any carburetor retuning by putting the slip-on on, but I'd argue with that. It felt even more sluggish than before I had shimmed out on the stock exhaust, which felt good with a single shim. This feels much better with 2. I went with the Delcovic because I was able to keep the center stand, and it was fun to put on a louder exhaust. It's more fun to ride a bike with a loud exhaust. So short review, I guess, on this bike, and I don't feel like I'm even qualified to review this bike because I don't know it well enough. I know the carburetor pretty intimately. It's the only carburetor I ever had actual dreams about, but I haven't taken it on, you know, tons of big trips to tell you exactly how good of a sport tourer it is, though I can tell you in our experience taking this on two trips of about 1,200 and 1,500 miles, that it's a super comfortable bike. It has all the power you could need, and we put this thing through the ringer. Torrential downpours for an entire day, like 10 straight hours once of rain, never bat an eye. It's been through sand, it's been on its side. I haven't crashed. I think I've tipped it over my driveway probably, but yeah, we did a slight little crash. It wasn't really a crash, we were putting it down for a nap. My biggest issue with this bike is just how heavy it is. I don't understand how Suzuki made this bike this heavy, so I always compare it to my SV650, and this thing's like, in the garage, it feels 100 pounds heavier than my SV650. I think it dry weight's like 458 and the SV is like 375 or something like that. So I mean, legitimately is a lot heavier. It doesn't feel as quick as my SV650. On a freeway on-ramp, it 100% is. I mean, it's an inline 4, it's got 80 horsepower, it gets going, but it's got a lot of weight, so it like just putting around, it doesn't feel as quick, but it's far more comfortable. So it's interesting how few of these Bandits, oh, I gotta mention this before I go too far, the gearbox on this is so good. It is such a smooth gearbox, ridiculously smooth compared to the other bikes I own. This is the smoothest gearbox I have ever ridden. So I haven't done a whole lot of performance stuff to, you know, address the suspension or anything. Honestly, I don't feel like the stock suspension is that bad on this bike. It's mushy for sure. It's a pretty similar stock setup as the SV650, which a lot of people tell you is shit. I don't believe it's as shit as people say, but if you're a heavier person or you wanted to turn this into a performance motorcycle, there are some things you could do. My SV650 feels awesome. I basically just have emulators up front, and I've got a Penske triple clicker. My guess is you throw $400 at a new YSS rear shock on this thing, and you could even throw some knockoff emulators up front. put some new fork oil in it and some linear springs for your weight, and you'd have a pretty good handling bike. That being said, this isn't a platform I would really care too much about, you know, performance on. Not, you know, racing type of performance. Those types of performance upgrades, yeah, you'll feel them on the track if you're good enough to actually be able to take advantage of those types of things. I'd put my money elsewhere. I'd put my money into gear, accessories, that kind of thing. I'm gonna wave to that scooter, he didn't wave back. Yeah, I put my money elsewhere. Unless you get really into this bike, it's your one bike, that type of thing, and you're like, I want to make this as good as I can. Dude, then go for it. But it's a good platform. Oh yeah, what I was saying is, I don't see them around here. I've seen maybe 4 Bandits in the like 3.5, 4 years I've owned this thing. I see SV650s, V-Stroms, all those types of things. I see tons of them all over. What is this guy doing? Oh, I thought he had that rope tied to him. But I just don't see these things. They must have sold, I know that they sold thousands of them. Many thousands of them. But I think they sold them all in Europe, because everything about this bike seems to be centered around the UK. Like when I see postings like, hey, I'm selling my Bandit, and they'll be like, which part of England are you in? It's like, well, I'm not. So yeah, most of this seems to be European based. So why am I selling it? My buddy came over, the original owner of this bike, well, the original owner since I've known about it, since I brought him to go buy this Lemon like 8 years ago. He was in town from the West Coast. I had since bought this thing from him, got it running, and it's now in the state that it's in. We've taken it on some big trips and whatnot. Anyway, he was in town. I just called some buddies over that I hadn't seen in a while. I said, hey, you want to meet up for a couple hours? So we're having a bonfire. My buddy's eyeing up the motorcycles, and he goes and sits on that thing, and hey, you want that? I'll send you home with it tonight. And I was kind of half joking, because I've always been trying to get my friends into motorcycling or back into motorcycling. And a couple days later, he's like, hey, I'll buy that red bike from you. It's like, fuck yeah, here we go. So, gonna be getting another friend back into motorcycling. He originally had a Ninja 500R, a 2004 blue 500R. We took that thing to Road America for the AMA races way back when. And then he had a ZX6R, and I believe that ZX6R, his ZXR was 6R, was that's Ferrari right there, was probably the quickest bike I'd ever ridden. Maybe it is the quickest bike. My dad's V-Rod might go quicker in a straight line, but it was probably the quickest bike I ever rode. Anyway, I believe they sold the bike when they were getting ready to have their first kid, so I don't know if my friend's missus knows that this is coming over to his house right now. So I may just be taking it right back. I also told him, because obviously I'm not selling it for what I could get on the open market for it, because if you're trying to make, well, you can't make money on a motorcycle, but you could get more by selling it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something like that. I was like, if you sell it, I get first crack at it for the cost I'm selling it to you, plus the cost of any upgrades that you do to it, because I still like this bike. I have a lot of fun on this bike. Unfortunately, I picked up a new project that's in my garage. I bought a fucking, I'm regretting this already. I bought a basket case 1986 Honda VFR 700, and it's a mess. And I'm reassembling my Honda VF 500F right now. I actually just got the frame into it, or I got the frame mounted around the engine and swing arm connected like just this weekend. So yeah, I wanted the garage space, and now I'm getting it. And I'm getting another buddy back into motorcycles. So I do want to say before this thing ends, like I mentioned, I have a much longer one on this if you want to listen to a guy talk to himself for 40 minutes on the freeway. I did that where I talked about basically everything on this bike. I told some stories, some of them were even motorcycle related. But I do want to say thank you to everybody that's given me advice on this bike over the years. Some obviously embarrassing videos, especially the infamous found the crankcase full of oil video. I've tried to come a long way. I do a whole lot less throwing hammers. I even swear a lot. I still swear a fair amount, but I don't lose my shit very often. Slow down. And this bike has taught me to slow down and think, because troubleshooting it is honestly, it's simple. And I was always just going to extravagant things were wrong and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, check the air filter, check that the air fuel mixture screws are turned out correctly, make sure that there's not a double O-ring in there and you forgot something, that kind of thing. So thank you to everybody that's given me support, help, and everything on that. I'll still try to answer as many questions as I can when people ask them on my videos. And then if you notice some of the videos have gone missing, it's because I get embarrassed about them, or I think there's bad information of them in them, and I unlist them and I put them in my vault of shame. So they haven't disappeared completely, but the ones where I'm like, I actually don't even want to answer that. I'm too embarrassed to look at it. The videos still exist, not that you ever want to go watch them back again, or go back and watch them again, but yeah, they're still sort of there. I was getting sick of seeing some people seeing how dumb I am. So anyway, selling the Bandit. It's going to greener and brighter pastures. It'll probably be taken care of a lot better than I took care of it, because I know the guy that's about to own it, and he's far more mechanically inclined than I am. So that'll be good. So if I don't go over anything with him on this video, and on this one and every other Bandit video, thanks for watching.